This is Follow Your Heartsong with Rose Heartsong. For those of you who have listened before, you know that we talk about sexuality, spirituality, and holistic health, or radiant health is the new one I like to say. And we like to talk about all things taboo here on the radio and challenge them, have dialogues around them, and make them more comfortable, more easy to understand. And for some reason, I don't know why, the topic we talk about tonight is like, it's the thing that kind of gets to people like the most, I've found. But before I tell you about what that topic is, I'm going to remind you that you're listening to KXFM. This is Laguna's Community Radio. It's 104.7. And this is a community-led radio station. Everybody here is behind the scenes volunteering their time, their energy, their efforts. We have 88 volunteers bringing you community-led radio. And it's such a special radio station. Feeling extra grateful today. We are talking about ethical non-monogamy or polyamory, open relationship dynamics, loving more than one person or having sex with more than one person consensually and ethically. And I have a guest that I am so excited to dive into, Wayne Lesane, and he drove all the way down with his crew of friends from Los Angeles. And we're going to be chatting about poly, and he has a lot more experience than I do in this realm. So I'm really excited to have you here. Thank you for being here. And if you would introduce yourself. He's a sex and intimacy coach, helps people with open relationship dynamics and polyamory, and is a big leader in the world of ethical non-monogamy. And I really appreciate seeing people out there who are sharing alternative relationship dynamics. I talk about it here, and I know you have a lot more experience with this matter. Welcome. I'm so grateful to have you here.
Hey, Rose. Thank you so much. So, yes, just to give a little background about myself, I've been in a relationship, marriage, for the past 23 years with my wife, Melissa. We and her together started a Shades of Non-Monogamy during the pandemic. And so we've been working with people around all things non-monogamy, which you speak about poly and all these sort of things, right? So for me, I don't say ethical, right? Because ethical non-monogamy, no one ever says ethical monogamy. So why do we have to put ethical in front of non-monogamy if we don't put ethical in front of monogamy? It's assumed that it's not ethical when it is. It's very consensual, and when you're in a consensual non-monogamous relationship, yeah.
Oh, I like that. I'm glad you brought that forward because it's the common name is ENM or ethical non-monogamy.
Yes.
But I like the conscious non-monogamy.
Yes.
I like that because it's an intentional choice versus cheating, which is deceit and toxic and horrible, and I'm completely against, and I'm also pro open dynamics.
Yeah.
I love that. So 23 years.
Yes.
And have you been open the whole time?
Yes, since day one.
Wow.
So when we first got together in 2003, we had a conversation. I think it was the second or third the second conversation we ever had, because I met her out and about, and then we talked on the phone. And when we spoke, we talked about, I explained to her that I don't think that I could be in a monogamous relationship. I don't know how sustainable that would be for me. And so we had this conversation about what does that look like? And back then the term non-monogamy wasn't even a thing. And so we just talked about it in a different way. And so we kind of explored together and learned over the years. And so through our trials and tribulations, but anybody who knows anything, there was no YouTube and Instagram and TikTok back then to help you work through your issues or whatever you had going on. So we had to learn by trial of fire. And so that's what led us into doing the work that we do around working with couples and people and such, because we went through so much with no help. And we can imagine people doing that today without the help. It's really hard. Life is already hard enough, right? And so to add in relationship dynamics and trying to be your authentic self is even harder without proper guidance. Someone who can help you get through things that you have no clue about, yeah.
Yeah, I know. The first time I got introduced to it, I feel like I wanted to scream and cry, and my blood was boiling, and there was a huge part of me that was absolutely erotically turned on by it, and then another part of me that was all the bad words I'm not allowed to say on the radio. I was not happy, but I knew that it was something I wanted to work through, and I didn't have. I listened to the show. Have you heard of the Body Storytelling podcast?
I have not.
It's all the kinky things people do. For some reason, I found that one, and that was the one. But I tried from 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds and fried my nervous system and freaked out and then pulled back and then started studying it. And you and I, we just had dinner together and we found out they were both Aries. So it makes sense. Aries are fiery and they're highly sexual people. And we like to challenge the status quo in our own ways and be leaders. We're big leaders. How was that obviously we only have an hour, so we can't go on to long details, but in the last 23 years, you're in a marriage, you have children with your wife. How has that evolution looked? Like, did you start with rules and systems and processes and change over time? Or I can't even imagine being with somebody for 23 years, let alone being open.
Yeah. So even with that, right? So non-monogamy, again, is the umbrella for all things, right? Poly, swinging, open, monogamous, all things, everything like monogamy, non-monogamy. Yeah. And so we started out in the swing world, and that was our gateway into all things, right? And so we dove in that world. Well, we dabbled in that world for about 10 years, I would say. Yeah, and during that time we had kids. We had 2 kids. Yeah, during that time, and so for us, the swing world was cool. It just is limited in what you can be, and it works for some, right? Because it's very sex based. It's non-committal. No, it's supposed to be without emotions, but we know that's not true, right? Because no emotion is still an emotion. We say that, and people in the swing world, is something that's not talked about, but they have jealousy. Right? There's a partner they may have been with, or a couple they may have been with a week ago, they may see them with somebody else this week, and there may be some jealousy. Just recognizing those things that was coming up for us around with other couples and friends. And so while that was happening, we decided to just kind of start to question things and start to ask and start to wonder, like, what is that? Why is that? And we start to see couples going through things and everything. And through that, helped us to understand the dynamic of the swing world, which then we realized that maybe we aren't swingers. And so from there, we transitioned to the poly world, right?
But pause for a second. For those who don't know what swinging is, what is swinging?
So swinging is when a couple is together and they go to clubs, parties, or they engage sexually with other people, right? Together. It's always together, like I call it more monogamous than anything, because you're not doing anything separate. You're doing, for the most part, there are always exceptions to the rules, but for the most part, they're doing everything together in this swinging world. There's clubs that you can go to. There's private parties you can go to. You can have just a couple come over to the house that you hang out with. So yeah.
So it's sexually exploring as a couple together and not separately. That's what the definition would be like. And so it's usually swapping.
Yes.
And it's primarily focused on sex.
Yes.
And that's where the upside down pineapple concept is from, right?
Yes.
And there's the interesting thing I've noticed is like in the different communities in the open dynamics is like there's a different energy frequency depending on do you understand what I'm talking about? Like there's a swinging energy, and then there's like the poly energy, and then there's like the play party energy. So you went 10 years of swinging.
Yes.
And then you went from swinging to poly.
Yeah, we dove into the opening up our relationship to where we were dating separately, which would look more outside to people as a poly relationship, because we started dating separately. And so even within that, again, there's things within the poly world that we agree with and then don't agree with. So that's how we came to the point that we're just non-monogamous. We take a little bit from the swing world, take a little bit from the poly world, we take a little bit from the kink world, and we take from different spaces. And so it just works for us to be able to, because what it is that we're not a monolith, right? Everybody's relationship is different. And so what works for you may not work for me, and vice versa. And so in this way, I just say I'm non-monogamous. I get to explain my dynamic to people. Because if I'm a swinger, then you're going to put me in a box. And now I'm this thing. If I'm poly, then I'm, again, put in a box and I'm this thing. Mm-hmm. But if I'm just non-monogamous, I get to tell you what it is for me. Yeah.
Now, the interesting thing, too, is when I think about non-monogamy, a lot of times it's a huge umbrella, right?
Huge.
But monogamy is a huge umbrella.
Yes, it is.
I've had clients who are strictly monogamous. They don't say they're monogamish. By the way, monogamish is you primarily have a single partner and then you play once in a while with others in certain dynamics. You're primarily monogamous with side, like consensual side. But, I lost my thought. I ran away. Bye-bye.
Even in that, I say to people,
I would say monogamous. So, like, I had clients that say they're fully monogamous, but they go to sex parties. They just don't have sex with other people. And then there's other people who are monogamous that if their partner is following the opposite sex on social media, that's cheating. And so monogamous is this huge umbrella term too.
Absolutely.
And psychologically or sociologically as a society, we all have our own, we were talking about this earlier at dinner, is we all have this own idea of what monogamy is in our brains. And then we don't talk about it with our partner. We get in a relationship with our partner. We get married to somebody with this concept and idea of what monogamy is. And we unconsciously say an expectation and we place it on them. And then they fail that expectation because they didn't know what they're agreeing to. And then relationships have chaos.
That is exactly how it happens. And even in that, right? So a couple of things. One, I say that more people are non-monogamous than they know, right? Because a lot of people, they get offended by the word non-monogamy because it challenges their truth. And I always tell people, I say, so you dated before, right? And you've dated more than one person at a time. That is non-monogamy, right? You don't have to call it, you can call it whatever you want, but that is literally non-monogamy, right? And I say that, and I also say that, again, more of us are non-monogamous in non-monogamous relationships than is known, right? Either we're cheating or we're being cheated on. Again, now we get into the unethical aspect of it, but it's still not monogamy because you're cheating or you're getting cheated on. And so when people think about that, I try to take away the fear of the word, right? And just help to normalize it because it's not this scary thing because most of us have done it and lived it in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, having the label sex coach, and I'm sure you have this one too, is I get to hear a lot of different stories from a lot of people about a lot of things that are happening. And one of them is that almost everyone I've ever talked to ever has had some sort of play outside of their marriage, almost in one way or another. And sometimes they don't talk about it. And it can range in so many different ways. And when we talk about it, that's when it's healthy, in my opinion.
Yes, and I agree with you. And I think that, back to your point about expectations, I think that even when I'm talking to my clients, I tell them, what are your expectations for a relationship? What does it mean to be a boyfriend or a girlfriend? What does it mean to be married, a husband or a wife? What does that come with? And does that person know what your expectations are, who's getting into a relationship with you? Because I think that when we don't allow someone the opportunity to make a informed decision to get with it, we're taking away their ability to consent fully to a relationship. And I think that's so unfair to the person that we're engaging with, because then later on, when it doesn't work out or the relationship starts to become a bit chaotic, it's because we weren't honest up front with what we had wanted and what we expected.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's one of the things I think that is in the kink community and BDSM community and the poly community or the open relationship and the play party community, there's so much education. There's so much learning and growing and communication if you're doing it effectively. There's people who are doing monogamy really well, and there's people who are doing monogamy really bad. Really bad. And then there's people who are doing poly really well, and then there's people who are doing poly really bad. And of course, unfortunately, we hear about the bad poly.
Yes. We hear about the bad like when you think of swing, I think there's this negative connotation that's associated with it, right? It's like it's the way they depict people, and it's not that in today's age, right? I think that I've met people who are young, like in 20s, and they're having get-togethers with their friends. They don't call it anything, but they're having group sex, and so they're doing these things, but without naming it.
Or having a conversation.
Without having a conversation, just having fun, and they don't view themselves as this thing, right? A lot of times they call swing a lifestyle, and I've always had a problem with the word lifestyle, because lifestyle meaning that it almost feels like you do this thing. You have your real life, but then you do this thing on the side, and it's not on the side because it's a part of you. Because could you stop tomorrow? Could you stop next week? If your wife said, "Hey, I don't want to do this anymore," what does that do to your relationship? And I think that people don't really understand when they dive into these spaces, open up these boxes, what they're really opening up and what it actually looks like. And so I implore anybody to, when they want to think about opening their relationship, to have someone help them, guide them through it, because I think that it'd be so much helpful before you go into step into anything. Like, why would you do anything without learning about it? First and foremost, educating yourself around it. It's unwise to just dive in because there's so many variables that come with that.
So you are a very sustainable poly relationship. So I don't know the ins and outs of your relationship dynamic. So I'm making up in my head a story that it's healthy.
Right.
And being that you're a leader and out there sharing and all of that, what do you think has been beneficial for you in your marriage to make it a sustainable, healthy, long-term poly relationship?
That's a good question. First off, like I always say, healthy is subjective, right? Because what's healthy for one person can be different for somebody else, right? And so in my relationship, we have a lot of open dialogue, right? We have a lot of conversations, because when people ask me like, man, what if she falls in love with somebody? I always say, well, I would know before it happened, because we would have a conversation about it. I wouldn't be surprised by anything, because anything that's happening, we're speaking about it in real time. And so we're very transparent. We're very honest, and we're very transparent, right? And then I always tell people the difference between honesty and transparency, right? An example is, hey, I'm going to a club on Friday with my friends, right? That's honest. I'm going to a club. But me knowing that this person that's going to be there, that you may not care for me, that's going to be there, I don't tell you, right? But transparency is when someone's going to be there, right? And that's the transparent part. And so for us, we're very open and transparent with one another. And I think that even, oh my God, if you could just understand some of the hard conversations that we've had over the years.
Can you explain your dynamic? Because I know that you have a wife, and how many kids do you guys have together?
So I was married before.
Okay.
When I was in the military in the 90s, yeah. So I have an older son. I have a 32-year-old.
Wow.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It's crazy, right? Yeah. I always tell everybody we're brothers. And then with Melissa, we have 4 kids together.
4 kids.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot of kids.
Yeah. I have a soon-to-be 20-year-old, soon-to-be 18-year-old, then a 10-year-old, and now a 3-year-old.
No, 3-year-old.
And within that dynamic, over the years, we've grown our relationship, and which we talk about on all the platforms that we're on. And so now, within the past 2 years, I have a girlfriend. And my girlfriend, her name is Nisha. I hope she doesn't mind me saying her name on air. But yeah, and we're now pregnant. She is 6 months pregnant, and we are expecting a boy in April. And my 3-year-old is excited to be a big sister. She rubs her belly and she talks about, oh my God, like I'm gonna be a big sister and all this kind of stuff. She even went to a doctor's appointment with us. So she got to hear the heartbeat and all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty dope. But yeah, me and Melissa, our relationship has changed over the years, and it's grown and it's opened. And so if we've gone through so many phases where we were monogamish to, hey, Wayne, it's okay if you want to date outside of me. I don't care to be with anybody, to, hey, Wayne, I want to date on my own. And then it just evolved from there. And not to say that it's always been easy. I struggle like everybody else struggles. She struggled like everyone else struggles, right? But the good thing is that we can talk about it. If we figure if something is hard, what does that look like? What does that mean? Do we need to slow down? Do we need to pause things? Do we need to take a break? We've taken breaks over the years. We've paused things at times.
Taking breaks from each other, or taking breaks from being an open relationship?
Taking breaks from like when we were early on in our swing life, we took breaks because maybe things felt hard.
From swinging?
Yes.
Not from each other?
No, not from each other.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that. Wait, I want to pause for a second, because what you're doing right now with having a wife and having children and having a girlfriend and having pregnancy and that is edgy even for the poly community. There's so many different layers of edge. Like swinging can be really edgy for some people. Dating separately can be really edgy for some people. But having a child with somebody else is very edgy. But I want to talk on that for a minute, because how many people do you know? How many men, women too, but men, because you're a man, I'm talking to you as a man, do you know have children with multiple women?
Yeah. So
it's very common.
It is.
And that's normal. And what's unfortunately normal in our society today is for baby mamas to be angry at the fathers.
Yes.
And to have like drama and chaos and riff and frustration and jealousy and resentment about the other baby mama and all this stuff. And that is quote unquote normal. Yeah. And in my book, I don't see that as normal. I see that as toxic and unhealthy. And I want to speak to that, because what you guys are doing, I'm in awe of.
Yeah.
Like, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
And you shared with me that you guys all live together.
Yes.
And that is taboo as F. And brave. And I think extremely healthy, in my opinion.
Yes. And so for me too, right? I see it in a way like, man, we don't have to break up the family dynamic, right? We get to still keep the family together. And just because now I'm having a child, that child gets to grow up with his brothers and sisters, right? And it feels a part of the family, doesn't feel excluded, right? How many times I have brother and sister that I never grew up with. I also have a brother and sister that I grew up with. And again, like I would think that wouldn't feel good to feel outside of that. So I get to have this dynamic to where all the kids get to share a household together and grow up together and see a healthy way of being in this, and normalizing a different way of being in a relationship and what blended family could actually look like.
And there's more more adults there to take care of the kids
Oh
and
God.
to love them and
Right.
to support them. And
Yes.
that is so beautiful. And I think like this other thing about our societal conditioning is unless you have family close by, but if you don't, it's just the one man and one woman together taking care of child. And that is stressful and like totally, I don't know, because I don't have any kids, so I'm not saying I am, but I've witnessed it being stressful and overwhelming and exhausting. And we don't come from that. That's not our history. Our history is community, tribe, coming together, taking care of family together in a unit. And I wish we had more of that. And I think that what I've witnessed in the poly community is that there is more of that together.
Yes.
So I am like so pro you guys, and I love what you're doing. Thank you.
So to that point, I actually talk about like the village mentality a lot. Like I think I know that we've gotten far away from it, right? Because my 10-year-old, he's utilized that privilege often, right? When he'll ask his mom for something and she'll say no, he'll go to service, which makes sense. And then also like a lot, if we looked at today's society and how our kids are raised, both parents, because the economy is what it is, both parents have to be outside the home working, right? So who's actually raising the kids, right? So if you have 3 people now, you get to, again, get more, somebody's going to be at home. And that's a different way of being, right? A different type of love and loving energy and just help, just all the things. Like so many, 3 adults helping opposed to 2 adults. I don't know. I feel like I'm going to get more, whatever it is I need from 3 people than I am for 2 people. And again, I'm not challenging anyone who chooses whatever they choose. I'm just saying we've gotten away from the village. We don't have that anymore. We have our support system is our significant other, which I think that has become a bit too
Stressful.
Yeah, stressful, and it's too, I can't think of the word. Anyways, it doesn't matter. But it's not beneficial to us anymore, right? Because just having your person, that's the person you rely on, and what we've been taught in monogamous relationships, again, not attacking monogamy, but we keep it in the house, right? So if we're going through something, we don't share that with anybody. It's here. We don't have any outlets. It's just between us, and there's no help because we don't want people to see us or view us a certain way. And in me, I think that is detrimental to the relationship and because the kids, what about the kids? Because when you're stressed and you're going through all these things, like the kids don't have an outlet because, again, you're taking the same energy to them that you have within your relationship. And again, there's so many things. I know we only have an hour, so I can go so many places.
I know.
You know?
There's 3 places I want to go right now. Okay, one question I have is, how is your oldest regarding, like, how does he feel about 31? He's seen everything, probably.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Are you guys close?
Yes.
How does he feel about your relationship dynamics?
Oh, he's cool.
Good?
Yeah, he's good. They're actually cool.
Oh, good.
Him and Nisha, yeah.
That's
They
great.
actually relate a lot, so it's funny to see the dynamic, yes.
And then the other one is the biggest issue, I tapped on it for a second, is jealousy.
Yeah.
And I'm imagining that you have gone through every single realm of that journey. And so what is a simple, actionable, small, tangible way that people can process jealousy when they're trying a new dynamic? It doesn't have to be new in open relationship, new dynamic in open relationship. It's like the kind of that next challenge.
Right.
And that could be new, going to a sex party for the first time or opening the relationship or whatever.
Yeah. I think that for the most part, when people feel jealous, they always want to look outside themselves. They want to look at whatever it is that they feel is the threat, right? This person is a threat because they are whatever. Without looking at themselves first. I think that's where I always say it always starts with you. What are you going through? Why are you feeling why are you feeling the way you feel? What's coming up for you? What are you worried about? Are you fear of something being taken from you? Are you worried about not being cared for, love? Are you worried? What is it that you're fearing? And to be able to speak that out loud, that's where you start.
So express the fear of the jealousy.
Yes. What is it? Where is it coming from? And I think that I tell people that I think that we create this monster in our head about this other thing, this other person. And a lot of times, I know this feels scary and challenging to people. If you can meet the person or whoever this person is, that your significant other opening up wants to be in relations with or get to know, and you can meet this person, you can take a lot of that fear out of it by just talking to him yourself. And again, it also is trusting your partner, right? Because you chose your partner and their discernment was great when he chose you. So why would we believe that they would choose somebody who wouldn't be in that same vein, right? And again, and that's a huge thing right there, the level of trust. Do we trust our partner? And I think we take that away sometimes, because I think the actual truth is we don't always trust our partner in that way. And we're afraid to say that out loud because we're projecting onto them our own fears.
Yeah, I'm totally agree with you on that one, is what's the level of trust? And that has been an issue for me personally in the past, is I don't trust my partner to choose the right person. And there was a control thing for me. I was like, oh, I got to know them before I know you have sex with them or whatever. I want to make sure their energy is clear, because I'm really sensitive with energy and very particular about because sex is a very vulnerable thing.
Yeah.
And you're sharing a deep, profound level of energy with that person. And so for me, it's that way. So it's really like realizing, oh, maybe there's a misalignment of energy here if I don't trust my partner to choose the right energy. That's a huge issue. So it's not about really another person at all. It's about the person you're dating.
Absolutely.
And trusting them and learning how to have that conversation to trust them.
Yes.
Yeah, I think like one of the things that helped me a lot with jealousy is like what you were saying, is just speaking like out loud. I'm experiencing jealousy right now. And then having my partner express, like hold space for them and say, okay, what are you jealous about? What is that about? Instead of being like making it wrong or shaming or making it bad or getting reactive or like, why did you do that? And I can't believe you did that. And you can't, if you attack somebody based on a story in your mind, it's not going to be healthy, regardless if it's about open relationships or just relationships in general.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's a huge tangible one.
And in that same vein, you have to feel safe enough to go to your partner and be that open, right? You got to feel safe that your partner won't weaponize that against you, right? What is it? I forget what it's called, but basically turn it against you, right? To make it as if it's your fault because you're feeling jealous. Gaslight, that's what I think gaslighting, yes. Because that doesn't feel good. And so then that would make you not want to go to your partner. So I always tell people to be careful of the energy that you bring. Be mindful. Yes, be mindful of the energy that you bring into the relationship or into that space when that person is being vulnerable with you or being honest with you about what they're feeling like.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. And it's really about like the foundation of the relationship, not what you're doing outside of it. I was having a conversation with one of my clients last night on text message, because I usually don't do on the weekends, but I was available for it at the moment. But I was sharing with him that I feel like sometimes open relationships can deepen the bond of intimacy and make, like, I've found like there's this word compersion.
Yes.
And it's when you are turned on by your partner's turn on, regardless if it's with you or not.
Yes.
And I feel the clients I'm working with, they've been together for 26 years, I think. And I think even though they're deeply devoted to each other and completely love each other and honor each other and stuff, but as we're evolving and opening up this conversation of exploring with other people, it's deepening their bond. And I'm like, hey, like this is a little baby step. Have this one conversation. Sometimes the conversations are the hardest to have. And that's what I think a lot of people don't realize. And I'm sure you agree with me. You should never open your marriage to fix your marriage.
Absolutely not. And I just want to touch on the word compersion really quickly, because I think that people when they hear the word compersion, they feel bad if they're not exercising compersion within a relationship. And I think that compersion is something that we're striving to become. We may not never become that. We may not ever reach compersion, but as long as we're working towards it, we can start to feel good about our partner dating, our partner being with others, because I think that's a big ask, especially with all the things that...
It's scary.
Yes.
It's vulnerable.
Yeah.
Have you experienced it?
Of course. I feel like I feel generally disappointed when, for instance, I'll use Melissa, for example. She was posing she had when she's dating, and if she has something coming up that she's excited about doing, and then say if that person flakes or doesn't come through. Now, let's take the word flake out. That person can't do it for whatever reason, and I see her genuinely disappointed. I feel bad for her, and as I do, I feel excited for her when the thing does work out. I feel excited when she says, "I'm gonna go away for the weekend." I'm excited, man. You're about to have a great time. You know what I mean? And so I don't. Now that wasn't always the case. I had to work through that, but I had to unlearn a lot of my own things that I was going through and dealing with. I talk to a lot of men in my men's group. I talk about patriarchy a lot because it's unlearning that aspect of a lot of things that help drive us and help us not be able to become our full selves, that caring part of ourselves, that loving part, that empathetic part, so yeah.
Okay, so I'm still stuck on the fact that you've been poly for 23 years.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Well, it's amazing, really. Like, to be in a relationship with one person for 23 years, let alone to be poly. Wow. So tell like more tips or tricks or support or share more about like how you do that long term, because
Right.
that isn't common. You probably know that.
Monogamous relationships aren't common to go that long.
No.
So,
Relationships in general.
thank you.
like,
Relationships in general. Right.
regardless of how they're
Yes.
structured.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. I think that it's just being very intentional, like being intentional to the point to where you're doing constant check-ins, having these, the maintenance that we do for our car or the way we show up for work, right? We don't show up that same way for our marriage or even our kids. I've learned so much in my relationship to become a better father because of my relationship and how I've shown up in a relationship. The way I show up in a relationship is bled over into so much of my life at this point now, right? I show up in so many different aspects of my life in general because of the relationship that I'm in and how it's helped me grow so much, right? And the intentionality behind it, right? So it makes me want to have conversations with my friends or make me want to have conversations with my family members or and so forth because it helps me to be, if I'm practicing that in my relationship and outside, it becomes automatic. It's a natural thing at this point, something that was unnatural, right? So now it's just a part of my life and a part of me. So anybody I'm going to be in relation with at this point, may it be friend, romantic, platonic, whatever, we're going to have conversations about how do we maintain and sustain this relationship. So
Yeah. I've been in monogamous relationships and I've been in poly relationships and I've been in open dynamics and I've been in a lot of short-term relationships and all of the above. I'm definitely not I don't call myself a relationship coach. I call myself a communication coach.
I love that.
Because I don't feel like I have achieved an expertise in relationships long term. I dive deep, fast, quick, go in, have the lesson I need to learn, and then decide it's not going to work for me. And that being said, so like for somebody like me, what do you think is making your relationship that sustainable? Like why did you choose, like, yeah, I'm just flabbergasted. I think I'm 36 years old and I think my longest relationship to date is like 2 years,
Yes.
2.5.
Yeah.
I like to explore and try new things. I am ready now I feel ready fully now. And one of the reasons behind that is I lost my mom to breast cancer from a really horrific disease when I was 23. And so I got a lot of trauma and fear around deep intimacy from that. So I understand why I've been on this journey and this dynamic. And I don't have any regrets by any means. And what do you think is like the magic sauce that's kept you in this relationship for that long?
So first of all, I want to acknowledge I couldn't imagine having lost a parent. Yeah. And obviously the fact that you can acknowledge your intimacy, things that you're dealing with, again, is another conversation outside of this. But so for me, I think that a lot of times what we've done is we're stuck on this idea of tradition, right? And the things I say sometimes I know it can be controversial and it's okay. I'm good with it. The tradition that we hold dear to ourselves and that we want to be is gone. Those days are gone. It's not the same. That doesn't exist, right? But we want to hold on to it. There's the economy in itself doesn't allow us. Capitalism in itself doesn't allow us to be this traditional family that we once were. And so it's updating our idea of what relationships look like, right? And so we're trying to be in this modern day relationship with these old ways of being. It doesn't work, right? We have to start to unlearn these old ways and adapt newer ways of moving forward in relationships. And what does that look like? That depends on you. But if you're trying to have the relationship that your parents had, your grandparents had, you're going to fail. And then even in those relationships that my parents were together 30 years or 40 years, how happy were they?
Or are they having sex?
All of the above.
Having sex part is key.
Right. All of the above. And so again, just understanding that, right? And so what does a relationship look like for you today? And then once you're able to realize what that relationship looks like for you, is finding somebody who's in alignment with you, who wants the same things.
Same values.
Right. Same values and all that. Yeah. And I think that's the scary part, right? Because we start to feel like we're alone or there's not many people, but we would be surprised. I always tell guys, if you would be honest with women, you would be surprised at the results that you would get. But start with the honesty. Honesty will take you a long way. But I think a lot of men feel as though they can't be honest because they won't accept me or like me for who I am. Why would you want to be with somebody who doesn't accept you? It's not going to work, So again, just being yourself and just being honest with who you are. And eventually somebody will say yes. And stop trying to, again, it's so many conversations. I'm not going to go there, but but that's just a start.
Yeah, I think one of the big things that I've been really reprogramming lately is that in my relationships as a child, and a lot of times our relationship dynamics show up from our parents
Yes.
into our current life, and they got it from their parents, and it changes every generation a little bit. And I think like you and I are working intentively and intentionally is the word I was looking for, on crafting it
Yes.
the way we want it, not the way that we were taught it to be.
Right.
But one of the things I was taught is that love equaled chaos. And so I've created a lot of relationship dynamics and they're very chaotic. And so that's why I left. And I also have really been doing a lot of internal work on myself. And I feel grateful that I didn't just jump into a relationship with somebody in my 20s or early 30s because I wanted a relationship.
Right.
So I definitely feel absolutely capable of being in a relationship now that could be for the rest of my life. So I'm not saying that's where I'm at now. But yeah, so what I'm hearing you say is, I don't know what I'm hearing you say actually. Like going back to the 23 years,
Yeah.
how do you, for somebody who wants to be in a long-term relationship, how do you feel you're making a marriage work in an open dynamic for 23 years? What is like the core essence, the communication piece or the evolving together or the core values or what is it?
I think it's a little bit of all, right? A little bit of all that. Core values definitely mean a lot because, again, what does it look like to raise kids together, right? What is that? What is our ideal or ideas around just many things? I know people care about like religion and tradition and culture and all the things. What does that look like? And I think that another one is just growing together, right? Because if we're able to evolve together to where we're still in alignment with what life looks like for the most part, and that doesn't mean that we have to do everything lock and step. We can, like, I can be here and you can be there. We can be moving in a general direction, right? Without overlapping intersections at some point. With some points may not, but we still good. And in a part of communicating is just continuing to be honest. Like when something changes, talk about that change. Hey, I know when we got together, I liked broccoli, but I don't like broccoli anymore. Be honest about that. When you start to feel like, you know what, I don't think I like this anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think this is and man, let me tell you this. And so again, in this 23 relationship, I don't want to just say, oh man, we've been so good. It's ebbs and flows like anything else. Ups and downs. We're in a
Have you ever separated? Like broken up?
No, we've never separated or broken up. No.
Oh.
Yeah, our relationship is very fluid, but that doesn't mean that we haven't had shifts within our relationship. Like we have a shift now in our relationship because of this new dynamic that I have right now. And so
How has that been like for your wife? Has it been challenging for her to have another child come in?
yeah, yes, I wouldn't want to speak for her, but I know that there's been challenges. And so but at the same time, it's been challenging for both of us. I know way that it's, oh, I'm leaving or we're not going to continue lifing together. It's, wow, this is a bit challenging. This is different. And it's not that we didn't have a conversation. It's not that this just happened. We had a conversation around what would I be open to and what she would be open to way before Nisha ever came into the picture. So this
So
conversation.
you were available for this prior to meeting her?
Yes.
Okay.
It wasn't because I met her and then now things have shifted and changed. It was before she even came into the picture. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so incredibly evolved.
Yeah.
And
Let me tell
it's
you,
hard, I'm sure.
Let me tell you, I accredit Melissa for so much because I was probably the one who was the hardest at first to unlearn a lot of my programming. When she just is a very patient person. And
Were you jealous? Is that what you're saying? Or like controlling? Or what did you have to unlearn?
Again, just the idea of what it was to be a man and what it was to be in a relationship as a man and what I would be okay with my wife doing or not doing or girlfriend doing and what it made me look like and what did I feel. And so all these things I had to unlearn, right? Because at the end of the day, I was taking away her autonomy to be her full self. I wasn't allowing her the space to explore what made her feel good, what made her happy, because I was in a sense like trying to dictate and control what it was she was able to do and not do.
Can we talk about that for a minute? Because it's really common.
Yes, of course it is.
And okay for a couple to have a sex with another woman.
Yes.
But not okay for them to have sex with another
Right.
man or for the wife to have sex or the woman. It's okay for the man to go have sex with another woman in our society.
Yes.
If you're thinking, going back to the deceit aspect, if a man cheats, it's a man being a man. If a woman cheats, it's the end of the world. So there's like the unbalanced societal programming on how men behave and women behave. Did you know this fact? I'm just flabbergasted by that. The concept that we live in where society says men are more sexual than women.
Yes.
Did you know that's based on a fruit fly study from 1950?
Oh, I know that all these
These
facts, these
right?
statistics and studies are so wrong.
Frustrating.
I've done so much research and learned so many things. But yeah, women are just as sexual as men. It's hard for men to understand that. Again, right? Because men want to control women's sexuality, right? Because if men were to accept the fact that women are as sexual as men, what would that mean then? Because now that means that she sees other men as sexual options, right? So that's it. So automatically now I think of myself as less than, right? Or, oh, damn, I'm not good enough. Like when I hear that, when I hear men say that, oh, yeah, if a woman goes and cheats because you wasn't enough or you wasn't all these things, it's not true, right? Because again, like then that means that, understand that women deal with that same idea when you go cheat. As a man, damn, I'm not good enough. I'm not enough. And sometimes it has nothing to do with you because, again, we don't understand it. When someone does something, a lot of times it's about them more so than it is about you. And not saying that, again, I'm not making a blanket statement saying that all, but I'm saying a lot of times when someone goes out and does something, it's not about love. It's not about you. It's about what they wanted in the moment. And I think that, again, just understanding humans and human sexuality. And I think that we try to make it just black and white thing, and it's very nuanced.
I think also a lot of times through the science of the human male body and the female body and how they work biologically when it comes to sex, like men have a tendency, because you guys have your 24-hour hormone cycle. So I found this, and you're a man, so you can confirm this or not, but I found that men have a tendency to be happier long-term with a consistent sexual style than women do. Whereas like it's women say they don't want sex and they kind of shut down and don't want to have sex because they're more bored and they're not having creative new types of sex.
Yes.
And then guys get frustrated because then their partner doesn't want to have sex with them, but then they're not willing to try something different in the bedroom.
Yes.
And then they get frustrated and angry that they're not getting laid, but they're not willing to do what it takes to learn new skills in the bedroom that would turn their women on.
Yes.
And so I think that's a factor that we get to talk about more and call men forward and women too, because a lot of times women won't speak their desires out loud. They're too afraid to express what they deeply yearn for, what they want because of shame.
Yes.
So we get to unravel this. So men get to listen and women get to speak. And the other thing that I like to share a lot is slow the F down.
Yes.
And breathe.
First, I love the fact that we're even moving into an age where we're talking about women's sexuality, right? Something that hasn't been talked about. Like most sexual things that are done or discovered or studied are about men, right? And I even say that women are having sex like men, right? Because of porn and all these different things, right? When did women just recently started to ask for the things? We start to see a lot more conversations around what women like sexually and all these things. But before then, sex was how it was done in porn, right? And I remember I went to this conference, Sex Down South. It's in Atlanta. It's an amazing conference. This woman, she was speaking, I can't remember her name. She was talking about how, again, because it's all about men's sexuality, women don't even realize they're having sex like men and they're having sex, the kind of sex that they want. And then a lot of times, I'm just learning so much, oh my God, right? That a lot of times when women having penetrative sex, their body's not even ready to receive the penetration, but they don't know that because no one's ever had this conversation. It's just me learning these things. I always tell men to slow down, slow way down.
I always say like slow down in half and then slow down in half again and then slow down in half again and then maybe you're slow enough.
Yeah. And to your point, just think things have been this way for so long. As a man, it's so hard for me to change my way of thinking because, oh, I'm doing it right. What do you mean you don't like what I'm doing? And women statistically do become bored in long-term relationships way before men. And they do shut down to sex because they aren't turned on anymore. You know, and understand it. Like, why are you not turned on? We've been doing the same thing for the past 10 years.
That's the problem. That's a problem for my body.
That's what I've been doing.
Yeah. Or that she's been just satisfying him for a long time and then just gets over it.
She probably hasn't been happy sexually for a long time. And it just built up over time. So many factors that go into that.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, I remember one time I realized within myself that I was allowing myself to be penetrated too fast. Like I would just get on top and just go for it. Not like even when I was warmed up, but just like the act of the penis inside the vagina was super fast. And I remembered one day I was like, what if I didn't do that? What if I just slowed down? And so I made a request with
Mm-hmm.
my partner, hey, can we take 10 full breaths together for the penetration to happen? So every breath, a small amount would go in and a small amount would go in and just like breathe together. And as soon as he penetrated me, I started crying because I didn't realize that I needed that. I didn't realize that I was violating my own body by doing that every single time, because that's just, again, that's probably what you're saying is like women having sex like a man.
Yeah.
That's what it would be doing.
Yeah. And even in that, I talk about this, like we don't even, we violate our own boundaries all the time, right?
Mhm.
And where do we learn this from? I always say that we learned it from our childhood. Our parents were the first person to take our boundaries away from us. And when I say that, people are like, this weird. Remember when you were younger and your parents would give your aunt a hug, give your uncle a hug, and you don't want to, but they make you do it anyways. You just now violated your own boundaries, right? So now you can't, how do you respect your own boundaries when they've been taken from you at such a young age? And as you grow up, you have this in you now that you don't respect your own boundaries. So yes.
It's important to do and to figure that out. And
yes. To reestablish your boundaries as an adult is it's so powerful. To start saying no, to listen to yourself, to trust yourself, to understand what you feel is okay and what's not okay.
one that I really liked that I heard from a man one time, I can't remember who it was, but he was saying how he was like in bed with a woman and they were like about to get it on or whatever, and she kept saying no. I think that's societally, oh, if she says no, I should press harder or whatever. And so he was like, okay. And he like literally just got up and started putting on his clothes. And she got upset and she said, what are you doing? Where are you going? Why are you doing that? And he was like, you said no.
Yeah.
And so that was him respecting his own boundaries,
Yes.
really. Like when a man says, I feel like when a man is going after a woman, she's saying no, that's almost him disrespecting his own boundaries, because that's the paradigm we're in. Obviously, a woman too shouldn't be saying no when she seems yes, that's like messing with our heads, right? That's not okay. And also, like, I was really like, wow, like more men should do that. Like, just get up and walk away.
I understand the traumas they're creating in their bodies, right?
Yeah.
I think Michelle Hope, she talked about how she goes on sex dates, right? A sex date is non-sexual. It's just going on a date when you meet somebody and you start to feel like we're going to be engaged sexually. We have a conversation about what does sex look like? What do I like? What do you like? And so when we get in the bedroom, all awkwardness we can alleviate or mitigate some of the awkwardness that would happen, right? Because I'm going to trust your no's. I'm going to trust your yes. And even in that, right, I tell a lot of my couples or swing or whatever, and I know, just to pivot really quick, I tell them you should go to a kink space, right? Because consent is a huge thing, a huge topic, right? And I think that we can all learn about what consent actually looks like and what it is. Some of us can even relearn consent. And so, I think that's huge.
It's huge. One of the play communities I'm part of, I think you've been to, is the play. And if you're going to watch somebody else have sex within 6 feet, you're supposed to ask permission just to watch them, which I think is, and some people are like, what do you mean? They're at a sex party. That's the whole point of the sex party, is to go and have other people's sex. But if you're up in their bubble, energetic bubble, like asking permission is helpful. There's just so many different levels to consent, and consent can always be taken away. And there's just so many different aspects. And I would love to dive into this topic. And unfortunately, time goes so incredibly fast. So we got 5 minutes left.
Yes.
Luckily, we're going to go the whole hour, which is so awesome. How do people learn with you, and how do they find you, and I know you have a show as well.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit more about what you offer.
Yeah. So I work for Los Angeles Sex Therapy, and also I have a Shades of Non-Monogamy with my wife. So we do a podcast called Shades of Pleasure. You can find it on Spotify and all these different places. Also, you can find us on Instagram under Shades of Non-Monogamy, or you can just find me at Wayne.Lesane on Instagram. Yeah,
Do you have a website?
I do, Shades of Non-Monogamy.
.com.
Yes, .com.
Shades of Non-Monogamy. Okay, awesome. Amazing. And you work with primarily couples. Do you work with singles too?
I work with everyone. And I know that people assume that I just work with non-monogamous couples. I have a lot of monogamous couples I work with, and I take the non-monogamous framework and apply it to the monogamous relationship, and it works well.
Cool. I love that. Amazing.
I work with singles also, yeah. I have a men's group. So
what's your men's group?
It's just,
is it online?
Yes, it's virtual. I also have through Los Angeles Sex Therapy, have a couple support group as well.
Amazing.
Every other Thursday.
I love that. I love that so much. I love learning from you, and I love what you're doing. I'm grateful that you drove all the way down here to hang out with me in the studio. And yeah, I like to end the show with a question. So Follow Your Heartsong is really about following what lights your heart on fire, right? A lot of the world, we're afraid to do what we deeply yearn to do. And I think having freedom in sexuality is a huge aspect, because when we're free in our sexuality, we're free in our creativity.
Oh my God, yes.
And so since you are free in your sexuality, more than the majority of men on the planet, what in your, how am I going to ask this? I want to get juicy. What is like your most activated heart song in your own sexual exploration right now? Got a good one for you.
It's what hurts so well.
Like what excites you and turns your heart on right now?
So I think for me, it's just I feel like I've done so much already sexually. I think that what excites me is just learning something new, exploring something new, right? It'd be a new dynamic sexually. It may be a new sexual, whatever it is. And I think that I'm getting to do that right now. Because I've been so comfortable having sex in this way, and now with someone new, and she's just learning herself and going through the whole process for herself. So we get to learn together. So I get to start from scratch all over again. It's so exciting because I get really excited, honestly, and I see how excited she gets. And it feels really good. Oh, wow, you are so ready.
You're so available.
Yeah. Oh my God. And then just to see just the desire that, that I have, and the desire that she has, it feels really good. I think that I just really enjoy like that new exploration that I'm going through right now, because it feels really good.
Yeah, love it. Love that. Thank you so much for being on the show. This is Follow Your Heartsong with Rose Heartsong. We're on KXFM Laguna Community Radio. And we're here every single Sunday from 9 to 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We like to talk about sex. So thanks for having the conversation with me and opening up the dynamic of open relationship styles and what that looks like. It's been an honor to have you, Wayne. And I'm excited to see what else we can create in the world together.
I'm looking forward to working with you, Rose. I already told you.
Yeah, it's so good. Grateful that you found me on the internet. And grateful to have you there. So thank you again. Thanks for KXFM radio.org, and have a good night.